Hey, what's up, guys? This is Marseille, aka the Property Pastor, coming at you again with another fantastic video with some amazing content. We wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about property management and whether or not you use a property manager or you self-manage. We wanted to go through a couple of items for you. This subject can be a little bit stressful. It's actually what causes some people to just stay away from real estate investing as a whole as far as rentals go. But I wanted to do a book review today. And before we get into it, though, I want to remind you guys to make sure that you take a few minutes and subscribe to our page, like our page, and subscribe. Tune in every week. We're going to be bringing you some fantastic new content to help you in your business, help you grow as a real estate investor. But yeah, like I said, today we want to talk a little bit about the subject of property management. And I want to dig into a book review. I'm going to do a book review on the subject of property management. So the book we're going to be talking about a little bit is one that helped me a lot. When I was starting my business. To just show you the cover real quick, it is entitled Landlording on Autopilot. So that is by Mr. Mike Butler. Hopefully you can see that really good. You can go on YouTube, check that book out. It's probably about 12 bucks or so. But it's an invaluable tool. Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets fame also has a really good book about landlording and property management. So I encourage you to check both of them out. But we're going to focus today on Mike's book primarily. So my story is that when I bought my first property, I kind of inherited my property manager. And he kind of came with the property, and as I purchased it, he said, "Hey, look, I've been managing this property for several years. If you want to have me, I'd love to stay." I found out very quickly that he was basically just a person that was just collecting checks. So I had to go in and really do my own research and kind of train him to do what I wanted him to do or needed him to do. And I kind of faced a decision of, hey, do I go out and hire a professional property management company? Do I stay with the person that I'm using now? I opted to stay with the person I was using at the time. Basically, what I found was that he had a good relationship with the tenants. He was personable. He was willing to do pretty much whatever I asked him to do, and that was a benefit. It was a value add for me. At the same time, I still had to make a lot of the different decisions, but I think at the end of the day, if you do hire a property management company, you have to manage the property manager regardless. So some people say, well, I'm just dealing with a property management company, and I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But really, what I've found in talking to other investors is at the end of the day, do you want to just be another number in the whole portfolio? Do you want to have more control, right? It just kind of depends on what works for you in your own business. But that's kind of what I decided to do. So over time, the past two years or so, we've constantly implemented new systems. What I found is from my PM is that, hey, he's willing to do the different things that I'm requesting, which definitely helps. So Mike's book helped me out a lot in that regard. So I'm going to do a book review here and just kind of give you some of the different tools and tips that he highlighted in his book that were pretty helpful. So probably the biggest takeaway that I would say from the book was to screen your tenants, and I cannot say that enough. Some people, especially getting that first deal under your belt, let's say, for example, let's say, for example, you have a single family home, and that first month comes around, you purchase, you're excited, I'm going to be a millionaire, another misnomer, but I'm going to be a millionaire, this, that, and the third, and you're just so excited about a check, and you start advertising this, that, and the third, and the first thing you get is, hey, you got some hits, you got person that you're all lined up with, and they turn out to be a total dud. I mean, they pay deposit and they stop paying, they tear the place up. That's a nightmare tenant. That's a quick way to get into real estate investing and a quick way to get out of it. So one of the things that Mike's book talks about is actually screening tenants. So, in doing that, right, having an application, looking and understanding what the different things that you can't, the protected classes that you can't discriminate against. Mike's book goes through those things pretty well, so that's a great asset. But when you're screening the tenants, requiring an application fee, we charge about $25. And we found that to be fairly reasonable, and we use a service called the service we use is the National Tenant Network. So screening tenants does allow you to look up their credit score, any previous evictions, and then one important thing is their criminal history. So you don't want to be putting sex offenders into your units. You don't want to be putting violent criminals into your units, especially if you do multifamily like me, because that's kind of a recipe for disaster. Screening tenants has helped me tremendously. I actually screened a tenant this past week, as a matter of fact. We ran their information, and they had 15 judgments against them in the past 3 years, which I was surprised that they even bothered to fill out an application. But they did. Maybe they didn't think that I was really, we were really going to run their credit or whatever the case is. But the nice part about a lot of the services, I know Cozy has one, National Tenant Network has one. There's a host of services that you can use, but actually doing that helped us to avoid a potential pretty bad situation from a tenant's perspective. So, like I said, have everybody fill out the application. But Mike also talks about in his book training tenants, and he kind of looks at tenants almost as a kind of a mindset shift that he takes you through the book, and that is really looking at a tenant almost as an employee. It's like, don't call them tenants, don't call yourself as a landlord. These are employees, right? They are people that are going to help to grow your business, and you want to get the best possible candidate that you can find. So really looking at the tenant not just as a person that is going to give you a check, but they're a person that you want to get the best available, and really kind of look at them that way was important, and a key takeaway from the book as I read it, in the past. So everybody fills out an application. Everybody has to pay an application fee to cover those costs. Mike goes through and talks about setting up rules for your tenants, right? Understanding what the maintenance process is. Understanding what your business hours are, when they can call, whether or not your property manager, or yourself are doing an activity. Going through and actually training the tenant is important. So you say, how do I train a tenant? Well, there's things that the book talks about, like charging late fees. What I found in my own experience is by charging late fees, it stops late payment pretty quickly. So we try to make that process in our company to be one that is it's fair, but it's consistently enforced, because people always have a story. So my property manager, I try to make sure that he's following rules, and we put it on every single invoice that we send out. When I first inherited my property manager, he was basically chasing down the checks every single month. So he would go knock on doors. Hey, you got your rent, this, that, and the third. This person had it. Multiple trips out to the properties. Just total headache. So one of the things that we implemented from the book was we switched around to kind of an invoice system. So around the 20th of the month, the tenant will get an invoice. It'll detail what their payment amount is, when it's due, when it's late. It actually has a fee schedule if they are late. So it literally has a table in it that says, hey, on the sixth day of the month, you will be charged $35. Each subsequent day after that, you will be charged additional dollars until your rent is paid. So what we find out of that, and Mike he talks about training the tenants, is that they typically pay late one time. And that's all we really run into is after that, and we don't want people to pay late. I mean, actually, you make a little bit more money when you collect late fees, but it just kind of gets everybody on the same page, same sheet of music. But like I said, we use an envelope system. So in it, we're going to go ahead and send them their invoice. And then we also have a self-addressed envelope that all they got to do is put their check or money order into that envelope and send it right back. So there's no reason that they can't get their rent taken care of. We also do online payments in our company, which is helpful, right? Because people nowadays living in a digital age, they can pay their rent directly from their phone. Some folks do auto pay and all those kind of things. I think the main principle that the book talks about is having a system. One thing about this business is you must have systems, because you need to be working on your business and not in your business. The more you work on your business, all you're doing, if you're working on your business, you can grow it. But if you're working in your business, you don't really have a business. You just own your own job. So that's the one thing. And that's just a quick plug for the E-Myth for those of y'all who know about that book. It's another great read that you should check in on as well. But as far as Mike's book goes, as far as landlording or autopilot, it's got a ton of nuggets to really help you in your business. It also talks about, like I said, we talked about charging late fees. It talks about doing an actual walkthrough when you have finally screened the tenant, identified them, got them on board. You want to actually do a walkthrough. We make sure we cover all of the lead-based paint disclosures, how to protect yourself in your home. We make sure that we go through every single room and take pictures. We've got a report that we kind of go through and fill out the incoming condition. That way, if there's a hole in the wall from drywall damage, if it was there when it was moved, we'll go ahead and fill out a work order and get that repaired. But that way, when the tenant moves back out, If that damage wasn't there when they moved in, then basically that is something that they're going to be responsible from their security deposit. So doing that walkthrough is important. We actually have what we call a rent talk. During that rent talk, we cover all the rules and regulations. We cover the fee schedule. We cover the payment. We cover all the different disclosures. Really, the whole goal there is to make sure that we are starting out on the same sheet of music. The tenant, it's a fairly thorough packet. What we find is when we go through that packet, we make them initial to different things, and once everybody's on the same page, we have a much better experience with our tenants. So I think this book has really helped me and my business to avoid some of the nightmare stories that I've heard. It doesn't safeguard against everything. Somebody's still going to slip through the cracks. People can still game the system. They can still, they know what they're doing. There's some professional squatters out here, but this system, by utilizing some of the tools in the different in the book that Mike's written, will help to weed out some of that stuff. So I highly recommend it to you. Additionally, though, the book talks about rewarding tenants, rewarding employees, so to speak, as it calls it. So one thing that they do at a Mike's company that we've actually implemented in our company is they have an all-star program. And what that is, it actually rewards people for paying their rent on time, and it rewards people for being long-term tenants, and also it rewards them for referrals. So let's talk about the tenant benefits basically first, or how they reward their tenants. So the first thing they do is on year number one. So it's kind of a 3-year program. On the first year, if they pay their rent on time every single month, on that 13th month, they'll get a 10% bonus, or a 10% coupon that will deduct 10% of their total rent price. If they pay everything every month on time for 2 years or 24 months, on that 25th month, they will actually get 25% off. And then when you get to the year number 3, they get a whole month of free rent. What does that do? It actually encourages people to A, pay their money on time, but also B, to become long-term tenants. So we've had a few people who've actually been with us that long, and like I said, they're very reliable tenants, very stable tenants. So we don't have a lot of the headaches that some people deal with in the multifamily arena. So that All-Star program is pretty neat and very helpful that we've implemented in our own business. Additionally, though, we utilize a referral program. So typically, if a good tenant refers another good tenant, that's repeat business, and your best advertisement is always going to be word of mouth. So having tenants who refer their friends and refer other people actually helps out really well. So what happens is, on the 3rd month after a tenant has moved in and stayed 3 months, paid their rent on time, et cetera, we will write a referral check or give a credit. We give the tenant the option to that tenant who did the referral, so that they're benefited, and they continue to bring us repeat business. They continue to tell their friends, and typically what we find is that if a person doesn't want to live around or with a difficult person, so typically the people they refer are usually good candidates as well. So we utilize that program. It's something that was a key benefit of the book. There are a ton of free forms in this book. So what I mean by that, there's an application packet. There are forms for move-in inspections, property inspections. There's forms for pet fees. There's forms for lease addendums, maintenance forms. I mean, everything you can think of basically is kind of a one-stop shop. So I mean, literally for like $15, 10, 15 bucks on Amazon, buying a book, you get all the digital package of their free forms, which is pretty cool. And Brandon Turner's book has got kind of a similar package. So it allows you to kind of pick and choose what works for you. You can put your own company letterhead on it and kind of make it your own, which is something that we did. It helped us out a lot. Really gives your business a professional look. Really helps you out, as far as just going and Googling and trying to find something. So the forums were a nice added benefit to the book as well. One other thing the book talks about is how do you get rid of bad tenants. So it's inevitable that you're going to run into some tenants that aren't really good. You're going to have some people that are headaches, bad apples, that if you let it run its course, it'll make you want to quit this business. But one program they talk about that I like and I have used is Cash for Keys. So when you run into a difficult tenant, depending on what state you're in, evictions can be very problematic, very timely, very costly, and a big headache for you. I mean, some tenants can even go in and destroy a property, right? So one thing that one program they talk about is Cash for Keys, which basically just kind of, you go to a tenant who hasn't been paying rent and you say, look, what does it take for you to move by Friday? what if I offer you, 1 month of rent, $300, $500, whatever that number looks like that you decide on, to give me the keys back, to have all your stuff out of here and be totally cleaned out and be gone. Now I know what you're saying, like, well, Pastor, look, that's not okay. I mean, they're not paying their money. They need to pay up. I'm going to take them down to the courthouse, But look, the thing about it is, by doing that, you're going to cause yourself more time, more money, more headache. If you can just be done with the problem altogether, start fresh, chalk it up to experience, and add a new system to prevent that person from coming back again, you got a better business, a stronger business. So that's one of the things, kind of a mindset shift that Mike talks about in the book that really helped me a lot. We've used it before. We've been able to get people out really quickly, and not have to go through the whole eviction process, which can be, like I said, it can be a little bit painful. Also talks a lot about written correspondence. So in the instance you get one tenant complaining against another, it's important that you go through the lease and you actually highlight what section they're violating. You give them that written correspondence. That's also going to help you, down the road if any legal matters arise. But actually, for complaints being issued formally, making sure that maintenance work orders are being filed, paperwork is being submitted, and things of that nature. Those help out a lot. And sometimes, dealing with a person and them getting an official letter from the property manager or from the company, this, that, and the third, it shows the seriousness, and they take things a lot more serious. So that's one of the things, as far as like just kind of how do you manage bad tenants, and how do you train them? The book talks a lot about training tenants. So when you start looking at late fees, written correspondence, and things of that nature, getting people to abide by your different rules and regulations is pretty successful, pretty effective. So another thing they talk about is having inspections. So doing periodic inspections. I know we do ours on a quarterly basis. The property manager will go in. He's got specific forms he's got to fill out, where he's going to look for leaks. He's going to be checking for bugs. He's going to be looking for rodents, mouse droppings, all that kind of stuff. And one of the biggest concerns you can ever have is leaks. So if you got water constantly dripping underneath a sink, that's going to rot out that cabinet base. It's going to get down to the subfloor. If you've actually got, it can even go to the unit beneath it. So having your property manager know what to look for, go through the units, and actually checking them out from time to time is going to save you a ton in the long term. So that's one of the things that the book really emphasized, stressed, and that we implemented in our business that helped out, and it helped out tremendously. So overall, I think it's a great book. I would definitely encourage you to check it out. It's a good read. I think as you dig into this business, having systems is key. One of the things I've learned about it is getting to the standpoint of recognizing that this is a business. You can't be, and I know for me personally, being a pastor, if I go in and people know that I'm a pastor, I've actually had people do that before. It's one of the reasons why I have that property manager interface between me. But I've had people recognize and find out I was a pastor and really play on that and try to take advantage of it. So it's important, that you have systems, that you are objective and not subjective as a business owner, and I think the book, Mike's book, really helped me a lot in that regard. So like I said, I encourage you to check it out. It's a great investment. You don't have to, one thing about real estate investing is there's not a university course on it, so to speak. You got to learn some different things through the school of hard knocks, but I think Mike and his company have learned a lot of those painful lessons and passed them on to people like me, and I'm passing them on to people like you. So again, check out the book in your free time. It'll be a great addition. You won't regret the purchase. And again, I pray that this video helped you. God bless you guys. I'm so excited you tuned in. I do want to encourage you again. Make sure that you subscribe to our page. We're going to be putting out great content every single week to help you grow your business. Hey, look, until the next video, God bless. Can't wait to talk to you again, and I wish you guys much success. Take care.